Okay, good morning. I have the privilege now, as Kumar indicated, presenting the final results of the HPTN 052 clinical trial on behalf of all the investigators. So, you will remember that in 2011 we had a chance to present this trial in which we described the randomization, which was to enroll serodiscordant couples into one of two arms. The early arm received ART as they are enrolled, and the delayed arm would receive ART when their CD4 count fell to a critical level. The CD4 counts for the early arm were 350 to 550, and the delayed arm was 200 to 250. The endpoint of the study was a linked transmission event from an infected index case to their sexual partner. We screened more than 10,000 patients to find 1,763 couples who were equally distributed in the two arms. The couples were enrolled from 13 sites in 9 countries. We oversampled Africa, almost 1,000 couples in Africa because it's the epicenter of the epidemic, and we were particularly interested in transmission in Africa. In 2011, the Data Safety Monitoring Board recommended that we make interim results public. This was because of the profound difference they saw in the early arm compared to the delayed arm. Of course, in both arms, condoms and counseling were used. In the early arm, we saw 1 transmission event, and the reduction compared to the delayed arm, where we saw 27 transmission events, was ascribed to the benefits of ART, its ability to prevent HIV transmission. Importantly, we were very concerned about the 1 infected case in the early arm. That was in PLOS One. We had a chance to report data that appeared to demonstrate, or I think that demonstrated that that the transmission event occurred very soon after ART was provided to the infected person. Too soon for what we would call stable suppression, a term I'll use again. This result was reported in the New England Journal of Medicine. In addition, at this meeting, there's a tremendous interest in the when to start question. A second endpoint we assessed in this study was the benefits of treatment. Actually, the two were considered concomitantly, and in a paper by Beatrice Grinstein in Lancet Infectious Disease 2014, we summarized our clinical experiences with the interim data, demonstrating a substantial benefit of starting earlier treatment, that the patients in the early arm did better. So, today, we're meeting for us to discuss what happened next. So, shortly after the interim results were made public, we invited everyone in the study, all the infected participants, to receive antiretroviral therapy, and obviously we were focused on the delayed arm, and all the subjects in the delayed arm were offered ART. All the subjects and all the countries were informed of the results, and a decision was made to continue the study because the analysis plan had anticipated that all the subjects in the delayed arm would ultimately go on ART, so all that was happening was they'd go on ART faster. So the study was continued, and the original analysis plan was followed. So, some demographics. In 2010, we had 1,763 index participants. At the interim results in 2011, there were 1,642 subjects remaining in the study, which is 96%. In 2015, 87% of the index participants remained in the study. This allows 9,822 person-years of follow-up for the infected participant. But what we're really concerned about are the couples. In 2011, the couples were equally distributed, and 87% of the partnerships were sustained in 2011 over the years of follow-up. But by 2015, only 66% of the couples were retained, and that probably reflects how partnerships dissipate. I've actually spent this morning trying to understand dissipation of partnerships all over the world, and I consider myself an expert at divorce. Yes. In fact, I have a lot to say about that, but that's for another talk. Now, importantly, we did offer ART to all the subjects in the delayed arm, but as you might guess, it was impossible for all of them to receive ART in a day. And Teresa Gamble and her team, and Ying Chen and others, very carefully looked at the time it took for people to get on treatment, and you'll see by 2015, 98% of the people in the delayed arm, the infected participants in the delayed arm, were receiving ART. But I want you to look just for a second at 2012, 1 year later. 16% of infected participants in the delayed arm who'd been told about the health benefits and the transmission benefits and were in the study were declining uptake of ART as a function of the belief that there's no emergency or urgency for ART. And as we talk about the when to start question, this becomes critical. Overcoming this belief system that's inculcated is going to be extremely important, and we even see it in a clinical trial where people had already agreed to receive treatment. At any rate, to summarize, 98% of the infected participants were on ART. We looked at CD4 count, and as you might expect, ART had a very salutary effect. The blue and the blue in the line through the blue represents the median rise of CD4 count. And you see a very swift rise to about 900 cells in the immediate arm. And as the patients or people in the delayed arm started taking ART, they had a substantial rise in CD4 count. But that delay was a health consequence in the sense that they still never achieved the CD4 count, at least over the 5 years we followed them, of the immediate arm, another important benefit of earlier treatment. So this will bring us now, I'm going to slow down dramatically because this brings us to the results of the study, which I'll describe in kind of 3 parts. The first part is April 2005 to May 2011. And the numbers we see there, so the subjects in February we in May we told the subjects about the results, and then we analyzed our data in May. Here's the one transmission I've already presented to you, and at that time there were 36 transmissions in the delayed arm. So 1 transmission in the early arm, 36 in the delayed arm. This is an intention to treat analysis, and that represents a 97% transmission reduction ascribed to ART. So then the question is, what happened in the next window of the study? In the next window of the study, May 2011 to May 2015, 5 years, with substantial increased follow-up. So if we look at the first window, it's 3,482 years of couple follow-up. And in the subsequent years added another 5,012 couple years of follow-up. And what we see, if we go to the linked transmissions, we see 2 additional transmissions in the immediate arm or early arm, and we see 7 transmissions in the delayed arm. Now, look at the vast reduction in transmissions from 36 in the delayed arm to 7. Why are there such great reductions in transmission? Because ART works, and we're seeing prospectively then the benefit of ART reducing transmissions. So this is going to bring us then to the overall results of the study, and we're going to focus again on linked transmissions. There are 46 linked transmissions in the entire study, 3 in the early arm and 43 in the delayed arm, bringing us in an ITT analysis to a 93% reduction ascribed to ART superimposed on counseling and condoms. However, intention to treat analysis, as I think most people know, is a conservative estimate, and it doesn't let you see detail. So the details matter. So we carefully looked at how many of the linked transmissions had occurred when the indexed person was receiving ART. There were a total of 8. And what you see is 4 of these 8 infections likely occurred before or soon after the index partner started ART, and 4 infections occurred as the index partner was failing ART, or that is, ART was no longer suppressing viral replication. Susan Eshelman will follow me immediately and give all the details related to these 8 participants and these 8 transmission events. We were also concerned about the unlinked transmissions, and they should be equally distributed, and we would hope they'd be fairly rare. So there were a total of 26 unlinked transmissions over the entire study, which is, going back one, if I can go back, the entire study is going to be 8,494 couple years of follow-up, where the partner represents the person, and what we see is a total of 26 unlinked transmissions, 14 in the early arm, 12 in the delayed arm. And these unlinked transmissions then had occurred at a rate of about 1 in 300 couple years. So that's quite important for those trying to decide how we should best manage couples. So I can come to a conclusion and then turn this over to Dr. Eshelman to be introduced by Dr. Kumarsamy. The conclusion is The benefit of early ART in HIV prevention among HIV discordant couples is durable. The first report we had in 2011 was about magnitude. We saw a very large reduction in transmission. Now, over another 5,000 couple years of follow-up, we continue to see ART having a predictable and reliable reduction in transmission. We saw no, that is zero, index to partner linked transmissions when the index participant was stably suppressed on ART. So this is kind of like going from intention to treat to as treated. It's not quite the right language, but we saw no such infections. So Susan will emphasize the importance of suppression of viremia. And so we conclude finally, and this will be for those who followed the saga of 052, this is the end. So it's bon voyage to 052. And we will conclude that ART is highly effective for the prevention of sexual transmission of HIV. It's reliable and effective. So thank you for listening.